I never thought my 25th birthday celebration would be the night that changed everything. We were at this trendy rooftop bar downtown, not my usual scene, but Caleb insisted it would be epic for my birthday. My roommates Zoe and Mia came with us, and everything seemed perfect at first. Caleb kept posting Instagram stories of us, calling me his birthday princess and tagging me in all these sweet posts about how lucky he was. But something felt wrong. Caleb kept disappearing, claiming he was checking on our table reservation or getting better drinks from the bar. Each time he left, he'd be gone for like 20 minutes. During one of his absences, Zoe got this horrified expression while looking at her phone. She grabbed Mia's arm and showed her the screen. They both went dead silent. What's wrong? I asked, but they just looked at each other with this panic in their eyes. It's nothing, Mia said, quickly closing the app. Just some random drama online. When Caleb came back, he was all smiles and affection, kissed my forehead, asked if I was having the best birthday ever. I said yes, even though something in my gut was screaming that everything was wrong. The thing is, Caleb and I had been together for almost 3 years. We met in college, started dating senior year, and moved to the city together after graduation. I'd been supporting both of us while he tried to make it as a freelance graphic designer. My mom owns a successful consulting firm and gave Caleb contract work when he was struggling to find clients. She even let him use her office space for meetings and paid him way above market rate because she thought he made me happy. My mom had always been skeptical of Caleb at first. Single mom, only daughter, she'd worked so hard to build her business from nothing. But when she saw how happy he seemed to make me, she warmed up to him. When his portfolio was thin and he was struggling to land clients, I was the one who convinced her to give him a chance. He's talented, Mom. He just needs someone to believe in him, I'd said. She trusted my judgment and brought him on for several major projects. That night, after we got back to his apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. I waited until Caleb fell asleep, then texted Zoe, "Show me what you saw." The response came immediately, "Are you sure? It's really bad. Just show me." What she sent made my blood run cold. It was a link to a private Twitter account I'd never seen before. The bio read Caleb_designs with a locked profile, but Zoe had screenshots of everything. Tweet after tweet about how he was trapped with a basic girl and how he was playing the long game until something better comes along. There were photos of me sleeping, candid shots he'd taken without my permission, with captions like "she has no idea" and "the things I do for financial security." But the worst part was a whole thread he'd posted just hours earlier, during my birthday dinner. While I was in the bathroom, he'd apparently live tweeted about how exhausting it was to pretend to be happy, how he was only staying with me because my mom's business connections were too valuable to give up, and how he was actively looking for someone actually worth my time. His friends were commenting, laughing, asking when he was going to upgrade. One guy wrote, "Bro, just ghost her already." And Caleb had replied, "Can't yet. Her mom's about to get me that Nike contract." After that, I'm gone. I kept scrolling through the screenshots, my hands shaking. There were months of posts like this. Complaints about having to spend time with me, jokes about my appearance, detailed descriptions of our private moments that he'd shared for laughs. He'd even posted photos of gifts my mom had given him for Christmas, mocking them as desperate attempts to buy my loyalty. I sat there in his bed, looking at this man who'd just told me he loved me, who'd spent 3 years making me believe we had a future together. This person who'd been using my family's generosity while secretly documenting how much he resented me. I could have woken him up, could have screamed and thrown his phone at his face. But something stopped me. I realized that if I confronted him now, he'd just deny it or make excuses, and nothing would really change. He'd still have my mom's support, still have the life we'd built together, still have the luxury of walking away without consequences. So I decided to play the long game too. The next morning, I made him coffee and acted completely normal. Kissed him goodbye when he left for a client meeting, a meeting my mom had arranged for him. Then I called Zoe and Mia and told them everything. I wasn't going to just break up with him. I wasn't going to just expose him. What Caleb had done deserved something more strategic. I spent the next week documenting everything. I went through his social media accounts, found more private profiles, more cruel posts about me and my family. I discovered he'd been DMing other girls, telling them he was basically single and that his current relationship was just temporary. There were dating app profiles where he claimed to be single, using photos I'd taken of him on our vacations. The deeper I dug, the more disgusted I became. There was a group chat with his college friends where they made bets about how long he'd have to pretend before he could trade up. They joked about my mom's money, called her a desperate lonely woman trying to buy her daughter a boyfriend. They shared memes about sugar mamas and laughed about how Caleb was milking the situation. My mom has always been protective of me, but she's also a businesswoman. When I showed her everything, her reaction was ice cold. She didn't get emotional. She didn't yell. She just looked at me and said, "What do you need from me?" We made a plan, a real plan. First, my mom would gradually reduce Caleb's contract work. Not all at once, that would be too obvious. Just slowly, over the course of a few weeks, citing budget constraints and shifting priorities. When he asked about the Nike contract he'd been bragging about online, she'd tell him it was on hold pending further review. Second, I started documenting everything he did. Every lie, every time he claimed to be working when he was actually on dating apps, every time he complained about having to spend time with me while accepting money from my family. I recorded conversations where he'd complain about my mom's micromanaging while cashing her checks. Third, I began the slow process of disentangling my life from his. I moved my stuff out of his apartment bit by bit, telling him I was just reorganizing. I changed my Netflix password, removed him from my Spotify family plan, stopped buying groceries for both of us. I even took back the expensive camera I'd bought him for his birthday, the one he'd been using to take those humiliating photos of me. The beauty of it was that Caleb had no idea anything was wrong. He kept posting about me on social media, kept telling people how happy we were, kept accepting work from my mom, all while his private accounts showed his real feelings about our relationship. Within 2 weeks, Caleb was panicking about his reduced income. He started trying to network more aggressively, but without my mom's connections, he was just another freelancer in an oversaturated market. He'd built his entire client base through her referrals, and now that well was drying up. He asked me to talk to my mom about more projects, and I told him I'd see what I could do while doing absolutely nothing. I watched him stress about money, watched him realize that his temporary relationship had been his entire financial lifeline. By the 3rd week, he was getting desperate. He started being extra sweet to me, planning date nights, talking about our future together, all while I knew he was still messaging other girls and posting about how much he wanted to leave me. The cognitive dissonance was stunning. He'd post about hating me in the morning, then bring me flowers in the afternoon. My mom was enjoying this part too. She'd mentioned casually to Caleb how proud she was of me, how she was considering bringing me into the business more, how she'd been thinking about her will and estate planning. None of it was true, but it sent Caleb into overdrive trying to secure his position. Then came the night I'd been waiting for. Caleb suggested we go to the same rooftop bar where we'd celebrated my birthday, said he wanted to recreate the magic of that night. I agreed, knowing exactly what he was planning. He'd been acting weird all week, asking about my ring size, talking about how much he loved me. I realized he was going to propose, not because he loved me, but because he thought it would secure his financial future with my family. I invited Zoe and Mia to meet us there, just like my birthday. I wore the dress Caleb had once posted about online, calling it trying too hard in his private tweets. I looked perfect. During dinner, Caleb kept touching his jacket pocket. He was sweating, nervous, kept checking his phone. When dessert came, he got down on one knee, pulled out a ring, and started this speech about how much he loved me and how he wanted to spend his life with me. I looked at him, at this man who'd been mocking me online while taking money from my family, and I said exactly what I'd been planning to say. I know about the Twitter account. His face went completely white. The ring box trembled in his hands. I know about the dating apps. I know about the girls you've been messaging. I know about every single thing you've posted about me. He tried to stammer out some excuse, but I wasn't done. I know you've been using me and my family for 3 years. I know you've been planning to leave me the moment you found someone better. And I know you're only proposing because you think it will save your pathetic career. The restaurant had gone quiet. People were staring. Caleb was still on one knee, looking like he might throw up. The answer is no, I said, and you're fired. I walked out, leaving him there with his ring and his humiliation. The fallout was immediate. Caleb blew up my phone, but I'd already blocked him everywhere. He tried to contact my mom, but she'd blocked him too. He showed up at my apartment, but I'd already told building security to keep him out. Within a week, he'd lost his main source of income, his girlfriend, and his social circle. Zoe and Mia had shared screenshots of his private accounts with everyone we knew. His friends who'd been encouraging his behavior suddenly didn't want to be associated with him. He tried to damage control, claiming I was crazy and that he'd been joking in his posts. But the evidence was overwhelming. 3 years of documentation showing exactly who he really was. The last I heard, he'd moved back in with his parents in his hometown. His freelance career never recovered. And I got promoted at work, started dating someone who actually respects me, and learned that sometimes the best revenge is just letting someone show the world exactly who they are. Caleb thought he was playing the long game, but he never realized I was playing a longer one. Update: 6 months later, I'm living my best life. I got a promotion at work, started therapy to process everything, and I'm dating someone incredible who would never dream of mocking me online. Caleb, meanwhile, apparently tried to start a men's rights podcast about toxic women and false accusations. It lasted 3 episodes before being removed for harassment. His hometown friends started distancing themselves when they saw what he'd really been posting about me. The best part? He recently reached out through a mutual acquaintance, asking if I'd be willing to give him a reference for potential clients. I laughed for about 10 minutes straight. Some people never learn that actions have consequences. But I learned that I'm stronger than I ever imagined, and that the best revenge is living well while toxic people destroy themselves. I hope he remembers every cruel word he posted, every time he accepted money from my family while planning to leave me. I hope he knows that he lost the best thing that ever happened to him because he was too selfish and stupid to recognize it. But mostly, I hope he knows that I'm not thinking about him at all.